guys, it's Ty and welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing a book and movie review over Stephen King's Misery. So I have actually done 2 of these videos already on my channel based off of some of his adaptations. So I have done this over Stephen King's The Shining and Stephen King's The Pet Sematary. So I will have that linked down below in my description bar if you guys are interested. And I kind of want to do this more on my channel, so I will be having more of these, so make sure you guys keep a lookout for those. So I wanted to do it over Misery because this is one of his more popular adaptations. I have already seen the movie. I've seen it years ago at this point. I did recently rewatch it so that I could have it fresh in my mind for when I filmed this, but yes, so I have watched it before, but I had never read the book. So that was new for me. That was a new experience for me. And let me just tell you, the book and the movie are different. So how I'm going to do this is I am going to do just a brief spoiler-free review over the book, and then I will jump straight into spoilers. So that spoiler section will be spoilers for the book and the movie because I want to go over the differences between both the book and the movie. So if you guys don't want to be spoiled for either one, I will definitely have like a little strip or something that'll say spoilers, and I will leave that up for the entire time that I'm talking about all of the spoilers. And I will also have a timestamp in my description bar so that you guys will know when to stop watching if you don't want to be spoiled. So we will go ahead and start with the spoiler-free review. So Stephen King's Misery follows our main character by the name of Paul Sheldon, who is a very famous writer, and he writes these misery novels, and Misery is actually the main character of these novels, and I believe he has written like 8 of these novels, and he's basically tired of writing these novels. He has said that he never wanted to get famous off of these books. He never thought that he would be writing these many books, and so he decides that he is going to kill this character off. And so we as readers know that he is going to kill this character off. And at the beginning of this book, he has actually published this final book with the character Misery being killed off. And so he has actually gotten into a really bad car accident. And when he finally wakes up, he has waken up in the home of Annie Wilkes. And when he wakes up, he is staring in the face of Annie Wilkes, who makes it very clear that she is his #1 fan. And his first thought is, ma'am, why am I not in the hospital? And she says that all the phone lines are down. She is not able to get him to the hospital, and she has taken it upon herself to nurse him back to health. So he just takes that for what it is, and she is going to try to get him healthy so that he can get out of there. And he finds out very soon that he is in very poor health. He has no use of his legs. They are broken and he cannot move at all. And she has been drugging him up with this pain medication that he has been somewhat addicted to at this point. Like I said, she has mentioned to him that she is his #1 fan. And so while she is in the process of taking care of him, she actually reads that final book while he is there. And she is furious that he has killed off Misery. And because of that, she demands that he is going to write her a story specifically for her to bring back Misery, because Misery cannot be dead. So this story is basically us watching Annie as she is low-key torturing Paul as he is trying to write this final novel for her with Misery's return. So before we jump into spoilers, I will say the main difference that isn't spoilers from the book and the movie is that this actually does the trope of a book within a book. So what I didn't know when I first started reading this is that we are getting excerpts of the book that he is writing for Annie. And I didn't know that we would be getting that when I was reading this. And I didn't think we actually needed it. I didn't think it really served a purpose. It wasn't really that interesting to me. I really think we could have done without that. But that is all that I'm gonna say in regards to no spoilers. But overall, did I like the book? Yeah, it was fine. But we're gonna go ahead and jump into spoilers for both the book and the movie. So as far as the movie goes, the movie came out in 1990, and our main characters, Annie Wilkes, was played by Kathy Bates, and Paul Sheldon was played by James Caan, him. And I saw this, and when I saw it then, I was young. Came out in 1990. I was young, and I really enjoyed it. But after reading the book, there were definitely differences. So so just starting off in the beginning, which I always think is weird when they make movies like this and they change things, like little things like this. So in the book, when Paul comes to and Annie's like standing over his face, in the book, she says that it's been like 2 weeks since he's been like out cold. And then in the movies, they say that it's only been 2 days. I don't understand why like that part was changed. And then in the movies, we don't know how much time has actually passed. And in the movie, I don't think a lot of time has passed. But in the book, a lot of time has passed. He's been in this woman's house for a long time. Like a long time. We know it was like the end of the winter. They went into like the spring. At some point, it was like the summertime. I want to say it was like almost after the summer before he was like able to get out of there. But in the movie, I want to say it wasn't that long. I can't even tell you how long. I just don't think it was that long. We never saw the snow disappear. So I don't think it was that long. But we never got a sense of how long it was because they never told us. All I know, or all that I got out of that, was it was 2 days. Oh, and at the end, they gave you a 18 months later after everything happened. So we just never got a sense of like how much time had passed in the movie. Another thing that was talked about a lot in the book was a situation with his car, because Annie never wanted Paul to be found. So she, in her mind, never wanted him to like go anywhere. So she was like trying to leave the house, and she kept going back to the crash site. And at one point, she even went and like drove his car and moved it so that if the car was discovered, it wasn't going to be discovered in the place that he actually got into a wreck. Well, in the movie, the car never was moved. And at the very beginning of the movie, probably like 10, maybe 15 minutes in the movie, the sheriff person almost found the car. Very early on in the movie, almost found it. So it was like the car was never an issue. So I thought that was interesting, how big of an issue it was in the book, and then in the movie, it was not an issue. I mean, in the movie, it did get like covered up with like snow. Like I get that. They ended up finding it, not like right away, but it's just funny how she never took any steps to like conceal where he was. But in the book, she was like paranoid about making sure that nobody knew where this man was. So also, in the book, both in the book and the movie, there's a point where Annie ends up getting Paul a wheelchair so that he can start writing on the typewriter so he can write her this dang on book. And so that's how he starts being able to sneak around the house. He tries to sneak around and get some medicine. He's finding out information about her. That's how he's getting around snooping. Well, in the movie, there's this scene where he actually flops out of the bed and tries to crawl out of the room. We don't get that scene in the book. And I actually thought that was like a good scene because Annie finds him on the floor. In my mind, because we know that she's just a little mentally unstable, I would have thought that this woman literally would have like flipped out. And she was just like, oh, Paul, you're on the floor. Paul, why are you on the floor? Like, that wasn't a clue that this man was just trying to get out the room, and you're okay with him just being on the floor? Like, he can't roll up. His feet are in like these braces. Like, you can't just roll over. Like, you have to literally make yourself get out of the floor. Like, it was just weird. I don't understand why we needed that and why she wasn't so upset. She gets upset over little stuff. And you mean to tell me you come back and this man is on the floor? He would have he had to flop himself. He had to make himself get out on the floor. He had to do that himself. There's no way because his legs are heavy in them freaking braces you didn't put him in. He didn't just, if he accidentally rolled, like, he would have been halfway in, halfway out the bed if he accidentally rolled, but he made himself fall on the floor. And she wasn't mad. No, we didn't need that. Okay, so in the book, there were a couple of times where people were like coming to the house looking for Paul. And they weren't like looking for him like straight away. So obviously in the book, we don't have like a lot of characters, because in the book, we are primarily in Paul's head. It's told from Paul's POV. So we're in Paul's head a lot of the time, which, I mean, that really wasn't my favorite thing to do, was be in his head all the time. But we're in his head a lot of the time. So we don't have like a lot of different characters to follow. So it wasn't until a little ways into the book before we even got to see like somebody else come into the house to see like if anybody had seen where Paul was. In the movie, it was as soon 2 days had went past, and his literary agent was talking about, was already making calls to see where he was. He had this daughter that I never heard about, already asking about, calling, trying to see where he was. And then the sheriff department was already, his literary agent had called the sheriff, and they were already into this like huge investigation to like try and see where he was. So people were already looking into him. In the book, we didn't get that until like way later. And so in the book, we got this scene where a younger cop had came to the house and was about to ask Annie where Paul was. But Paul saw him, got his attention, and Annie ended up coming out and killing that cop. Well, we don't have that scene in the movie. In the movie, we just have this one sheriff that is going around looking for Paul, which I thought was interesting. And so in the movie, or in the book, once that cop got killed, then we had two other cops that were coming back and forth to the house asking Annie all these questions. Then we had reporters coming back and forth to the house asking all these questions. So we had people coming back and forth doing their investigations. Didn't have that in the movie. The one sheriff that we had, Annie freaking killed him. Shot him dead. And that was it. And then it was like, that sheriff, he had this weird wife who was like his deputy, I guess. And at one point, this was weird. So at one point, they were on their way. I don't know. I think they were in the car. I don't know where they were going, but they were in their car. And like, she was like trying to feel up on his leg. I don't know. She was like trying to get busy in the car. And I'm like, what is this? Why are we trying? Why? Can we just go find Paul, please? I don't need to see y'all trying to get busy in the car. Can we skip that? Thank you. Thanks. We don't need that. So I wish we could have seen, I wish they could have added in like that other part where like other cops were like coming and trying to find Paul. Like, I wish we could have got like more of that instead of just this one little hunky-dory, I don't know, cop trying to find, like, sheriff person and his weird wife trying to find him. Like, I don't know, that was weird. So then we get this scene that was not in the book that I wish was, that I actually liked. And so it was a scene where Paul tries to poison Annie. And I was like, go Paul, but it didn't work. So he had been, so she was trying to give him all these pain medicines. And so he, instead of taking them, he was trying to save them. And so one night he asked her to go to dinner, and instead of going to dinner, so while they were at dinner, he asked her to get up and go get something, and he took some of the crushed up pills and he put it in her wine, and she ended up knocking over the wine. I low-key think she knew that he put something in that wine, but he tried to poison her with the medicine. And so we didn't get that in the book, but I was like, that would have been, I like that. At least he was trying to do something. He was trying to knock her out, but it didn't work. But we didn't get that. We didn't get that one. We didn't get that scene in the book. Another huge scene. We got the scenes in both the book and the movie, but they were told two totally different ways. Let's get into it. So Annie had got mad because Paul, when he was out there in his wheelchair sneaking around, he had grabbed a knife and was planning on trying to stab her, which at this point I didn't blame him because she was not well. And he had hid it and she found it, and she was going to punish him. And this happened in two totally different ways. Each way was gruesome. But in the movie, because I think a lot of people are going to remember more so what happened in the movie. So in the movie, she took that board, and before I say that, at this point, his legs were getting better, and she was already upset and sad because he was almost done with writing the book and he was getting better. So she was already probably thinking about trying to hurt him anyways to keep him there. But she went and got the board and she stuck it in between his legs, and she took a hammer or mallet or something and she broke both his feet by smashing that mallet in with his feet and crushed his feet and broke his feet. But in the book, I swear it is so much worse. So instead of crushing his feet, in the book, she actually chopped off his foot and then like cauterized it to stop the bleeding with like a blowtorch and put his foot in a pail. And he said in the book that he saw his toes on his foot moving in the pail. Oh my God, it almost took me out. I said, I don't know what's worse, having your foot broken like that or just having your whole foot missing, because at least it's just one foot and it's not both your feet broke. I don't know what's worse. I don't know. It was nasty. But also in the book, she cut off one of his thumbs, and then she made a cake. And instead of using a candle like a normal person would do, she used his thumb as a candle and then threatened to make him eat his thumb with a piece of the cake. The woman is not right. I can't. She's not right. She's not right. And then lastly, the big thing, well, not big, but like the fight scene at the end between like Paul and Annie was a little different. I'm not gonna go like bit by bit on how it was different, but it was just a tad bit different on how like she technically died. In the movie, he like ended up like knocking her out and killing her, but in the book, like she ended up getting like ultimately knocked out, I think, on the mantle. And then when the police came, they said that they didn't see her in the room where she got knocked out at, and she was able to walk to the farmhouse, and that's where she ultimately died. But that was a little different, not that bad. But overall, I don't know. I think the book and the movie are about equal. I really think that The book goes into way more detail, in my opinion, in regards to what Annie put Paul through. And the things that that woman did to that man is just unimaginable. And I just can't believe that he even made it through standing. Well, I guess not standing, like limping. He's missing a foot. But like just the trauma that he went through and the things that like we find out about Annie and all of the things that she did to other people, all of the murders that she committed to other people and got away with, because she's not in jail, obviously. She's out here living her best life, torturing him. So it's crazy to me. And I just feel like we don't get to see that in the movie, which is unfortunate because, you know, you can't show everything in movies. And the things that just took away from my enjoyment in the book, like I said, I don't think that I needed to see like the excerpts from Misery, the book that we got. I didn't enjoy it, didn't need it. It didn't add anything for me. All those moments where we were in Paul's head and he was like making up conversations between him and like other people. Sometimes that got a little bit confusing for me because I couldn't decipher whether or not it was like true conversations he was having with people, or was this like a made up conversation he had? So that at times got a little bit confusing. And then sometimes it was a little boring, always being in like his head and his thoughts. I think that story really would have benefited between having a POV from Annie. Seeing what her thought process was through all of that really would have been an interesting story. And then what if she wasn't dead? What if she actually made it out of that? What would that have been like? That would have been interesting. And I actually listened to this on audio, and the person that narrated this and did Annie's voice actually sounded like Kathy Bates. Because for a moment, I thought that Annie Wilkes was Kathy Bates. So I don't know if that was like a mind thing because I was thinking of Kathy when I was like listening to this. But she actually sounded like Kathy Bates. So if you're gonna like read this, I would suggest listening to the audio because the audio was pretty good. But another thing that took down my enjoyment for this, and I do have to point it out, was that Stephen King did that thing where he used the N-word really randomly for no reason at all. I don't know why he did it. And it was at a point in time where Annie was going through one of her phases where she was upset for no reason. And she was going off on Paul. And she used the N-word referring to, I believe, one of the characters in the Misery novels. But she only used it once and it came out of nowhere. And it was never used again. And whoever she was referencing was never referenced again. So I didn't understand why that had to be used in that way. It just made no sense to me. So I don't understand why Stephen King did that. Like what the purpose of that was for. Why we couldn't choose another word. Why that sentence was even in there. I don't understand. Like that made no sense to me. So we didn't need that. I don't understand. Overall, I ended up giving that book 3 stars. It was fine. I liked it. There was things that I really liked about it, and then there was things that I just felt like we didn't need it. That last part we really didn't need. But the book was fine. I enjoyed the movie. I still would recommend. I do recommend if you're going to read it, maybe check it out on audio because I thought the audio was good. So that is my book and movie review over Misery. Again, if you want to check out my other book/movie reviews over Stephen King adaptations, I will leave those down in my description bar. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.